What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto uses a Katana Chunin exams? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. Sarutobi stared down at the Chunin arena, concern showing in his eyes. A chuckle reached his ears, causing him to turn his head towards the source. The source of the chuckle was a man that looked to be in his early 40s, wearing yellow and white robes and the same stupid ceremonial hat Sarutobi had on his head. Sarutobi smiled at the man. "Well, Raikage-san, it is good to see you made it." The Raikage chuckled. "Of course I made it, after all it is my grandniece down there." Sarutobi smiled. "Yes, if I'm correct she is up against our young Uchiha first." The Raikage smiled at that. "Oh, I thought you placed the young prodigy against the Sans Genin?" The old Hokage chuckled. "Oh, I changed the lineup, after all you don't always know who you're going up against in real life. So this should prove useful to them." The Raikage chuckled. "And it's a lot more fun, right?" The Sandame just smiled. As the Raikage sat down, Sarutobi flicked his eyes over towards the cage and inwardly smirked. "I knew you would try and pull this Orochimaru, but not even you are foolish enough to try and fight two cages by yourself." Sarutobi's eyes snapped forward as he heard his name being called. "Hokage-sama, neither the Uchiha nor the Uzumaki are here, and they are the first two fights." Sarutobi gave a slight hum. "I'll push the Uchiha's fight till last, seeing as he is with his sensei. Naruto-kun, however, has no such excuse, so I'll allow him 5 minutes to get here. If he does not show in that time, he is disqualified." Genma gave the announcement and everyone was watching the clock. After 4 minutes passed, Sarutobi gave a nod. Genma turned towards the crowd. Arena floor _____. It seems that Uzumaki Naruto has not arrived, so by default Tsuba. Genma was cut off as a bolt of lightning crashed out of the clear sky and a voice filled the arena like a roar of thunder. "Oh? And here I thought I still had 1 minute until my time limit was up." All eyes turned towards the lightning, only to see a very changed Naruto. Instead of the usual orange and blue jumpsuit that the blonde usually wore, he now donned a tight black muscle shirt and baggy black jeans that were being held up by his forehead protector. On his feet he wore a pair of solid black pair of sneakers and black socks. On his arms he wore a pair of solid gold arm bracers, with his hands covered by a pair of black fingerless gloves with a mystic topaz in place of the typical metal plate. On his back was a huge ass zanbato. The blade was solid black except for the stabilizing spine and handle, both were pure gold. ______ cages box ______. Sandame smiled. "Cutting it close there, Naruto-kun." The Raikage chuckled at the older cage's expense. "Man, your genin sure knows how to make an entrance, doesn't he, Sandame-san?" Sarutobi chuckled. "Yes, well, Naruto-kun always did have a flair for the theatrics." The Raikage gave a slight smirk. "And it seems the genin you favor most has a thing for my element, Hokage-san." Sarutobi chuckled and smirked. "Watch closely, Raikage-san, and you'll soon realize that it isn't your element at all. And besides, it seems that your niece has a thing for my favorite genin." The Raikage's eyes widened and he couldn't help but palm his face when he saw a light blush appear on his niece's face. "Damn it, Sarutobi, there really is no beating you, is there?" Sarutobi chuckled. "Afraid not, Akira, afraid not." All joking stopped when the cages heard a shout of "Hajime" from Genma. ______ arena floor ______. Naruto stared across the arena at the red-haired psychopath and smirked. "Oh, so you're the one that Sasuke Teme is out there training to beat? It's sad I'm going to do that for him." The redhead glared. "Mother wants your blood." Naruto watched as the redhead sent a wave of sand at him. Naruto smirked and seemed to vanish, only to reappear behind the red-haired youth. Naruto whipped his sword off of his back down towards the redhead. Naruto smirked as the sand stopped his sword from moving any further. Naruto disappeared again, this time coming in from the top only to have his sword stopped again. Naruto continued to try this, each time his sword being stopped. Naruto disappeared again, this time he appeared on the other side of the arena, a manic grin on his face. "So it seems Lee was almost right. The only way through your shield is to outrun it, but I do have to wander." Naruto smiled and rested his sword on his shoulder. "Tell me, Gaara, do you enjoy the rain?" Gaara raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Naruto gave a small serene smile. "I do, I love the feeling as the rain pours down my face and body, washing away all my pain. The rain is like a lover, it makes you forget about everything but her. It makes you forget all your problems as she caresses your face and back. But do you know what I love most about the rain, Gaara? Gaara again said nothing. Naruto smirked. What I love most about the rain is that she's never alone. Wherever the rain is, her protector is soon to follow. No, Gaara, what I love most about the rain is the lightning she brings with her. Naruto dropped his blade to ground. Naruto smiled and dashed towards Gaara. That's right, Gaara, I love the lightning. It possesses more power and speed than anything else on this earth. The lightning protects the rain when it is called, leaving only the cry of the splitting wind in its wake. Naruto finished his speech as he reached Gaara. Naruto jumped and made to give Gaara a helmbreaker. Naruto smirked and flipped at the last minute as he saw the shield of sand form. Naruto planted his feet firmly on top of the sand and jumped straight upward. All eyes turned towards as Boy split the wind with his massive blade. Everyone watched as Naruto reached the apex of his jump. Without wasting a second, Naruto spun in the air and threw his massive blade straight down. Everyone's eyes followed the sword as it descended towards its opponent. 3 sets of eyes, however, were watching the black clad as he started forming hand seals. Cages box _____. Sarutobi smirked as he recognized the seals the boy was performing. Watch closely, Akira, and you will see why when it comes to lightning, even you hold no power over this boy. The Raikage raised an eyebrow at that but watched. Arena floor _____. Naruto smirked as he finished. He formed the last hand sign. Raiden. Kencho za Sora. Lightning release. Striking the sky, everyone's eyes widened as lightning traveled from the ground into Gaara and then through his sand and into the sword. Cages box _____. The Raikage's eyes widened. Sarutobi, what the hell was that? Sarutobi smiled. Shish, it's not done. Akira's eyes widened but turned his eyes back towards the fight. Arena floor _____. Naruto smirked and replaced himself with the falling sword. Everyone felt the shockwave as Naruto's feet crashed into the shield of sand. Naruto smirked as he felt the sand shifting under him as it moved to block his falling sword. Without the sand to support his weight, Naruto fell through right in front of Gaara. Naruto smirked and kicked Gaara upwards. Naruto grabbed his sword and pointed it at the airborne Gaara. Niban Degeki, second strike. Cages box _____. Akira's eyes widened as he saw all the lightning that hit the sword earlier shoot out and towards Gaara again. Sarutobi smirked at the surprised look on the Raikage's face. That, my dear Akira, was Naruto-kun's Kencho za Sora, or striking the sky technique. I'll not tell you how it's done, seeing as the only person who knows is the young man you just saw doing it. I will, however, tell you that it isn't his strongest technique, nor is this his best. The Raikage turned towards the Hokage and said, "You have got to get him to write that down for me." Sarutobi smirked at Akira. "Oh, so in return are you going to give me one fire jutsu that your ninja have created?" Akira groaned. "That's unfair, Sarutobi, you know the only ninja I have that uses fire is Yugito-chan, and she'd castrate me with a rusty spoon if I gave away any of her techniques." Sarutobi chuckled. "Believe me, if Naruto found out that I gave away any of his techniques, I would have it much worse." Akira raised an eyebrow. "Worse than being castrated with a rusty spoon?" Sarutobi nodded. "Yes, back when he was younger, one of the villagers that hated him spilled his ramen. I'll not go into details, but I'm just going to say that it involved 2 kunai, a block of cheese, 2 pairs of chopsticks, and a mouse." Akira raised an eyebrow. "Was it painful?" Sarutobi shuddered. "Not to the mouse." Akira shuddered but didn't respond. Back on the arena floor _____. Naruto shouldered his weapon and turned away from the downed redhead whose area was covered in kicked up dust. Just as Naruto was about to break into the barrier between the stairs and the arena floor, he suddenly felt a massive blast of killing intent as well as chakra. Naruto smirked and cocked his head. "About time you woke up." Everyone's eyes widened as the dusk cleared, showing Gaara with his arm and half of his face covered in sand and strange blue markings. "Shukaku, or should I call you by your proper title, Ichibi no Tanuki?" The answer Naruto got was sand swallowing him whole. Underscore 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 cages box underscore 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 underscore. Akira jumped to his feet and was about to intervene when a firm hand on his shoulder stopped him. Sarutobi, what are you doing? That's a Jinchuriki down there, and I know you think the world of the boy, but he'll get destroyed if he continues to fight that thing. Sarutobi smirked. Anbu. 4 clocked figures appeared out of the shadows behind the 3 cages. Pull Genma and then set up a barrier, no one in, no one out, we can't have civilian casualties. The Anbu nodded and went to do as their leader has instructed. Akira gave the older cage a disbelieving look. What the hell are you doing? Do you want that boy to die? Sarutobi smiled. Akira, believe me, Naruto-kun is in no harm. Underscore 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 arena floor underscore underscore underscore. Inside the cocoon of sand, Naruto sat patiently. As Naruto felt a familiar pulse of chakra, Naruto smiled. Grabbing the handle of his sword, Naruto started to pump lightning chakra through it. Naruto smirked as he saw it spark. Time for the real fun to begin. Underscore 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 cages box underscore underscore underscore. Akira's eyes widened as he saw the blade of Naruto's sword pierce the sand that held him. But how? Before he couldn't even move the sand. Sarutobi smirked. Because Akira looked closely where Naruto-kun's sword is touching. Akira had to squint, seeing as he was so far away, but he saw the reflection on the sun where it hit the sand. Glass? But how? Sarutobi smirked. When lightning strikes, it is roughly 30,000 K, 2 times hotter than the surface of the sun. Naruto took that energy and pushed it into the blade of his sword. When the sword's blade touched the sand, he released that energy, melting the sand, allowing his sword to pass through. Akira's eyes widened considerably. Sarutobi, I have been using lightning jutsu since I was 5 years old, and I've never been able to make my jutsu that hot. How does he do it? Sarutobi smirked. Again, Akira-san, the only one who knows that little secret is the one who you just saw using it. Akira's and Sarutobi's eyes were drawn away from the fight as they hear someone hitting the barrier. Turning towards the source, Akira sighed. Underscore 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 arena floor underscore underscore underscore. Naruto shouldered his sword and stepped away from the smoldering pile of newly formed glass. Naruto smirked at the disfigured red head. Now that wasn't very nice, and here I was nice enough to greet you, hello. Gaara growled and shot sand out at the blonde again. Naruto watched as the sand drew nearer to him. They just never learn, all well. With that, Naruto disappeared again. Underscore 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 arena stands underscore underscore underscore. Akira walked up towards the long blonde-haired girl that would occasionally hit the barrier with her fist. Akira laid his hand down on the blonde-haired girl's shoulder, causing her to jump. Akira smiled at that. Easy there, Yugito-chan, it's just me. Yugito smiled at the older man. Uncle, what are you doing down here? Akira smiled. Well, the Hokage wanted to know if you would kindly stop hitting his barrier. Yugito blushed slightly at that. Sorry. Akira chuckled at that. Calm down, he's not mad. Now on to another question. Akira walked up to the railing and peered over to see Naruto being chased around by that sand, all the while laughing and making stupid comments. Tell me, Yugito-chan, what do you think about that young man down there? Yugito looked at her uncle. I think he is an emotional little boy that can't even control his demon. Akira chuckled at that. Yes, I'll agree with you on that. However, he isn't the one I was speaking of. Yugito's eyebrow rose. So you're telling me you have no interest in another Jinchuriki? Then you must be curious about his lightning attacks, right? Akira chuckled. Yugito, I have no interest in Jinchuriki at all. If I could have, I would have never allowed that damn cat to be placed inside of you in the... Yugito glared and hissed. Don't say that. Nibi-chan is one of the only friends I have, so don't even think about getting rid of her. Yugito heard a loud purring coming from her mind. Hello, Nibi-chan. A smooth and seductive voice purred in response. Hello kitten, what did I miss? Yugito smiled as she heard Nibi's voice. Nothing really, some poor sap got stuck fighting the Ichibi Jinchuriki. The Nibi hissed slightly at mention of the one-tailed pervert. Is that worthless sack of shit still breathing? Kitten, let me see who's up against him. Yugito turned towards the fight, allowing the Nibi to watch through her eyes. The Nibi purred in almost orgasmic bliss when she saw the young lightning god. I believe his name is Uzumaki Naruto, Nibi-chan. Nib purred at the mention of his name. Naruto, huh? He'd be good for you, kitten. Yugito almost jumped out of her skin when the Nibi said those words. Wah, what? Nibi purred at her response. What you object? I think he would be a perfectly acceptable mate, or at least a really good fuck. Yugito mentally hissed at Nibi. Nibi purred in response. Yugito was shaken out of her thoughts by Akira's hand on her shoulder. Akira smiled down at his niece. The Hokage just told me to watch. Naruto-san is about to do something that Sarutobi-san thinks would impress me. So I think you should watch as well. Akira's and Yugito's eyes turned towards the arena, only to see a fully awakened Shukaku staring down at a very relaxed Naruto. Arena floor Naruto looked up at the small mountain of sand and sighed. Damn, and here I was hoping you had a little better control. All well, no harm, no foul. Naruto smiled and bit his thumb. Looks like this is it. Hey Oiji-san, just like a chess match, huh? 3 more moves and I win. Arena stands Yugito and Akira's eyes both widened as Naruto said that. Akira grabbed Yugito's shoulder and shunshined into the cage's box. Cage's box As Akira and Yugito landed, they saw Sarutobi leaning back in his chair, legs and arms crossed and a slight smirk playing on his lips. Akira walked up to Sarutobi and glanced down at the fight. Tell me, Sarutobi, is he serious? Can he win in the next 3 moves? Sarutobi chuckled. Naruto-kun thinks he can, and if he's calling me to watch, then that means he has a plan. Yugito snorted. Or he's just trying to be a show-off and impress people. Sarutobi looked at the blonde-haired girl that stood beside Akira and smiled. You must be young Yugito-san, it is a pleasure meeting you. Now what is this about Naruto-kun showing off? Yugito snorted. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Hokage-sama, but I recall the boy from the preliminary fights, and sir, the only reason he won was because he farted in the other boy's face. Sarutobi chuckled. So he was even able to fool the Raikage's niece, was he? Impressive. Yugito raised an eyebrow at that. What do you mean fool me? Sarutobi chuckled. Naruto-kun was never the fool you all saw in the preliminary fights or any part before that. No, young Naruto-kun only acted that way because I asked him to. Yugito's eyebrows shot into her hairline at that. Not to question you, Hokage-sama, but why would you ask him to hide his abilities? Sarutobi smirked. Well, since you both have revealed yours, I figure I might as well. You see, Yugito-san, that boy down there is exactly like you, only where you are 2 he is 9. At this, both Akira's and Yugito's eyes widened at that. Akira looked back at the arena and asked, so is that how he is so powerful? Sarutobi chuckled. No, Naruto-kun only uses the fox's chakra to heal himself, other than that what you see down there is all Naruto. Yugito's eyes widened. So you're saying that that boy down there thinks he can take out a Jinchuriki by himself, without using his demon? Sarutobi smirked. Watch carefully, Yugito-san, Akira-san, and you will see the birth of the greatest shinobi that will ever walk this earth, by ruling the sky above it. Akira and Yugito both turned towards the arena to see something spectacular. Arena floor Naruto smirked and slammed his hands into the ground. 1. Kaichios. Tsukai no Sora. Summoning. Messenger of the Sky. There, standing next to Naruto, was a stallion-sized eagle. Naruto smiled at the large bird. Hey Tsukai, how has it been? How are the little hatchlings? The bird chuckled lightly. Everything has been good, Naruto-sama, and the hatchlings are fine, although they do wish you would summon them to play every once in a while. Oh, and Norike-chan has been pissed that you haven't been checking in with her lately, you know how overprotective she is. At this, Naruto scratched the back of his head sheepishly. Naruto was about to respond, only to be interrupted by a giant hand made out of sand come crashing down where they once were. Naruto looked up at the now airborne eagle and yelled, "Oh right, hey Tsukai, I need you to get me on top of Shukaku, think you're fast enough?" The eagle laughed at that. Naruto-sama, did you just challenge my speed? Naruto smirked. Why Tsukai, I do believe I did, care to prove me wrong? The eagle's eye gained a mischievous glint. Swooping down, the eagle smirked when he felt Naruto land on his back. Everyone's eyes widened as they saw the giant eagle disappear and a giant boom rang out through the arena. Naruto smiled as he held onto the back of the giant eagle as it twisted and curved its way around the spears of sand. Naruto smirked as he felt the eagle do a sharp 90-degree turn, vertically. When Naruto was just high enough to touch the clouds, Tsukai smirked. "Are you ready, Naruto-sama? We only got one chance at this." Naruto smirked. "Ready." With that, Naruto let go of the large bird. Naruto flipped himself in the air so that he was facing downward and started doing hand signs. Cages box _____. Sarutobi smirked as he saw the hand signs made by the young boy. "So that is how you plan to win, is it, Naruto-kun? I must say I'm impressed." Akira looked at the Sandame in confusion. "What are you talking about? What is the boy planning?" Sarutobi smirked and pointed at the arena floor. "That." Akira turned towards the floor to see something amazing. Arena floor _____. Naruto smirked as he saw one of Shukaku's sand spears shoot out and head towards him. Naruto flipped at the last second and grabbed the spear of sand. 2. Raiden. Daichi, lightning release. Grounded. Naruto smirked as he saw the effects of his jutsu. The sand body that Shukaku had built for himself was falling apart. Naruto landed in a crouch in front of the fallen sand Jinchuriki. Naruto rose from his crouch and started towards the fallen boy. Naruto glared as he saw the body of sand slowly starting to reform. Naruto smirked and grabbed Gaara by the neck and started to do one-handed seals. "I don't think so, Raiden." Arikiteru no Ikiyoi. Sakasa, lightning release. Electricity of life. Reverse. Naruto smirked as he felt the boy's body go limp, but his head was still moving fine. Naruto looked up at the Hokage and the 4 Anbu holding the barrier. "And 3, I win, Oiji-san. Cages box _____. Sarutobi smirked at those words and signaled the Anbu to drop the barrier, allowing Naruto to walk up to the stands and declaring him the winner. Sarutobi also smiled widely as he saw the fake cage get up from his seat and leave the box. Akira stared wide-eyed at those 2 techniques and turned his head towards the Hokage. Sarutobi chuckled at his friend's curiosity. Those 2 techniques were Naruto-kun's Raiden, Daichi or lightning release, grounded, and his Raiden, Arikiteru no Ikiyoi, Sakasa or lightning release, electricity of life, reverse. The first one is extremely useful against any Doden users out there as it sends electricity through the very earth, thus allowing Naruto to disrupt Shukaku's solid earth body. How it works is still a mystery to me, seeing as the only one who knows how to do it is the one you saw do it. Now the second one is one of the 5 Raiden, Arikiteru no Ikiyoi jutsu that Naruto-kun has created. Naruto-kun created these jutsu after an extended stay in the hospital where he had befriended a young doctor that knew of his love of electricity. Those 5 are possibly the most dangerous jutsu I have ever seen in my life. Yugito raised an eyebrow at that. How is that dangerous? It didn't even do anything. While Sarutobi smiled at the innocent view of the attack, while Akira saw the truth of its power. Sarutobi-san, if I may, what are the 5 Raiden, Arikiteru no Ikiyoi jutsu called, and what do they do? Sarutobi smirked as the more experienced mind of Akira saw the potential danger of the jutsu. Certainly, Akira-kun, you see, the 5 jutsu are Sakasa, reverse, Koen, Father Time, Kisu no Ryu, Kiss of the Dragon, Dokueki no Makai, Venom of Hell, and finally Shushi, Stop. Now you see, the old mont's voice was cut off by a light chuckle. Everyone in the box turned to see the blonde-haired lightning god leaning against the wall behind them. Naruto smirked at the old man. "Giving away secrets to my techniques, Oiji-san? You remember what happened to the last guy who pissed me off by doing something stupid? I still have that same mouse." Sarutobi's face drained in color at those words. Yugito looked on in confusion and was about to ask, only for a firm hand to find its way to cover her mouth. Yugito looked up at Akira only to see him mouth, "Don't ask." Yugito shrugged but let it go. Naruto saw the Hokage go pale and saw the little back and forth between the Cloud Ninja and couldn't help but laugh. "Ha ha ha, it's okay, Oiji-san, I'm not going to do anything to you." Turning towards the Raikage, Naruto smirked. "So you're the one that's interested in the Arikiteru no Ikiyoi, right?" Akira nodded but Sarutobi frowned. "Naruto-kun, show some respect, he is the Raikage." Naruto cocked his head back at the Hokage and smirked. My respect is earned not given because of some stupid title Oji-san. You should know that more than anything. The Akira raised an eyebrow at that. Kid, you feel that the title of Kage is stupid? Naruto turned his head forward towards Akira. No, I said that being respected for being a Kage is stupid. Just because you are powerful doesn't make you a good person, nor does it make you worthy of respect. Should I ever meet you on a battlefield where strength, skill, and strategy are the most important things, then I would treat you with all the respect you want, because in a fight you are a Kage, you have earned that. However, since we are not in a fight and we are talking like human beings and not comrades, then until you have earned my respect you will not get any. Yugito was about to go over there and beat that blonde kid to death when a firm hand stopped her. Looking up at Akira, Yugito saw a smile that she hadn't seen in years on her granduncle's face. Akira smiled down at the boy. Spoken like the true warrior I saw out there on that arena floor. My name is Ni Akira and I hope to someday show you that I am a person worthy of your respect. Naruto smirked at the man. We'll see, Akira-san. We'll see. Now you wanted to know about Raiden. Arikiteru no Ikioi, am I right? Akira nodded, causing Naruto to smirk. Well, the since Oji-san gave you the rundown of the names and where I got the ideas, I'll just skip to what they do. Sakasa is the first one I made. It allows me stop everything in the body except the vital organs and the head. It was made so that capturing the target would be easier. The target will eventually regain control of their bodies, but how long until that happens all depends on the amount of chakra I use. Koen was the second that I made, seeing as it is just the opposite of Sakasa. This jutsu speeds up the reflexes, reaction time, pretty much everything. Now it can't make you stronger or faster, but what it does do is make you react to things faster. The jutsu got its name because I once pumped so much chakra into it that it seemed that time stopped. However, once I did that I passed out, so you see how unpractical it would be for me to do that. However, I could easily double your reaction time for up to an hour, which should be far longer than you should be in any battle. Kisu no Ryu. Well, actually this one doesn't have an actual use in battle, it was more of a mistake while making the Dokueki no Makai. Yugito cut him off. If it doesn't have a use, then why name it? Naruto blushed and scratched the back of his head. It has a use, just not in battle. Yugito raised an eyebrow at that. Oh, and where would this jutsu be useful? Naruto laughed nervously. Promise not to kill me? Yugito raised an eyebrow at that, making Naruto sigh. Yeah, I thought I'd get that response. Well, you see, this jutsu would be more useful in bed. Yugito was confused. Like a forced sleep jutsu? Naruto blushed brightly and chuckled nervously again. No, you see, it would be more useful for things like. At that, Yugito turned 7 shades of red and Nibi started to purr in her mind. I wonder if the young Tom would like to practice that little jutsu. I'd love to see exactly what it would do. Yugito blushed even more at that. Yugito was dragged out of her thoughts when Akira started talking. Now Naruto was expecting a lot of things to happen when Yugito came down from her high. He expected to get beaten within an inch of his life. He expected to have to run from a pissed-off cat demon. He even expected to have to fear spoons for a very long time. But what he did not expect was this. Excuse me? Yugito smiled seductively. Yep, since you did this to me, so I believe you owe me, so pay up. Naruto sighed and shucked his pants. Yugito blushed as she sees the boy clad in only his solid black boxers. Yugito smirks idly and takes the cloths from the boy. Naruto blushed when he felt Yugito smack his ass as she walked out towards the restrooms so that she could change. Naruto sighed and turned towards Sarutobi. Sarutobi smirked and handed the boy a summoning scroll. Naruto smirked and unrolled the scroll. Pushing chakra into the scroll, out popped an exact replica of the clothing he just gave to Yugito. Akira gave Naruto a confused look and opened his mouth to ask, but Naruto cut him off. Don't ask, I don't want to talk about it. Akira raised an eyebrow but shrugged it off. Naruto turned towards the doorway only to gasp. There stood Yugito. Naruto's black muscle shirt stretched across her large C-cup. Her baggy black pants hung off one hip, even with the cloud forehead protector that acted as a belt. The gold bracers fit snugly onto her forearms and the jewel on the back of her fingerless gloves turned into a vibrant ruby. Taking all of this in, Naruto could only utter one word. Damn. Yugito gave a seductive smirk and sashayed over to our blonde-haired hero. Yugito pushed his jaw closed with one finger and then used that same finger to give a single long stroke to his middle whisker mark. Akira's jaw dropped for two reasons as he saw that. 1. Never before in his life had he ever, and I mean ever, seen Yugito willingly touch anyone, and 2. was that he was pretty sure he just saw Ni Yugito, Kumo's Hellcat, the biggest baddest bitch this side of the wave country, the biggest prude he had ever met in his life, just flirt with someone. Yugito mentally giggled when she saw Naruto's face. "You're right, Nibi-chan, this is fun." Nibi purred at her container. "See, kitten, what did I tell you? But I'm going to give you a warning, kitten. Don't hurt that boy with your flirting." Yugito grew confused. How could I hurt him just by flirting? Nibi grew serious. The heart, especially one like that boy's, is a very fragile thing, kitten. One wrong move and you could hurt that boy more than you know. Yugito mentally rolled her eyes. Calm down, Nibi-chan, it's not like anyone in Cloud would behave like he does anyway. They all just want to say they rode and tamed the demon. Nibi hissed. Ignore them, kitten, they know nothing. Why don't you try and get to know that young Tom over there? I'm sure you two would get along great. Yugito sighed. I don't know, Nibi-chan, what if he turns out just like the rest? What if he just wants to fuck the demon girl? Nibi hissed and was about to respond when a gentle hand laid itself on Yugito's shoulder. Turning towards the owner of the hand, Yugito was surprised to see two cerulean eyes giving her a concerned look. Hey, you alright? You look a little depressed. Yugito blushed at that. I'm fine, just thinking. Naruto raised an eyebrow at that. Hun, I've seen that look before. You're thinking about something that you're not sure on doing. Hey, go lay down over there, I have an idea that may help you. Yugito raised an eyebrow at that. Oh, and what is this idea? Naruto smirked. I'm going to give you a massage. Yugito blushed but rolled her eyes. No thanks, I don't want to ruin your clothing just for foreplay. Naruto blushed but chuckled. No, not that type of massage, this one will have you relax. I promise by the time I'm done all your stress will be gone. Yugito gave him a speculating look but did as he asked. Naruto straddled the catgirl's waist and imagined a grid on her back. Naruto quickly tapped out the grid, taking note of every bit of stress or resistance he ran into. Yugito moaned in pleasure as she felt Naruto start to rub away any and all of the stress she had accumulated. Damn, even when not using those jutsu the boy has magical hands. What do you think, Nibi-chan? The only response Yugito got was a loud purring, causing her to mentally giggle. Naruto smiled softly when he felt Yugito finally start to relax when he trapped all of her stress and frustration into one tiny ball right above the base of her ass. Taking chakra and adding it to the ball of his hand, Naruto rubbed the stress until it was non-existent. Naruto smiled as he saw that the cat-like girl had fallen asleep about halfway through his massage. Standing up, Naruto walked towards Akira and smirked. It seems Yugito-san is sleeping peacefully, so maybe you should get her to a more comfortable place. Akira raised an eyebrow. Oh? I'm pretty sure that Yugito-chan would like to see the rest of your fights. Naruto chuckled. I'm not going to fight again. Akira's eyes widened. And why not? Naruto chuckled. For two reasons. One, I'm fighting against Narashikamaru next, and by the time my fight gets here that cloud will be covering the sun, allowing him to trap me and win in an instant. 2 is because even though I don't look it, I'm almost on empty, I did have to fight the Ichibi and calm down Yugito-san, so it's no surprise I'm almost out. I'm only a genin after all. With that, Naruto turned away from the two cages and started towards the exit of the box. Naruto-kun, where are you going? Naruto cocked his head and smirked. Mioji-san? I'm going to go talk to that dumbass Junin about teaching immature little brats jutsu that were designed to kill. With that, Naruto disappeared. Akira looked at Sarutobi and couldn't help but ask. So is Hitaki-san going to be alright? Both of the cages shuddered when they heard. Not the mouse. Sarutobi turned towards Akira and shook his head. Akira sighed. Yeah, I thought I'd get that response. It was a beautiful morning in the village of Konoha. The birds were singing, the sun was just peeking its way through the trees, and all was quiet. Ha, just fucking with you. What the fuck? The Sandaime and Akira both sighed and rubbed their temples. Yeah, I thought I'd get that response. Naruto is going with us to Kumo for a year, Yugito-chan. Akira said, a little annoyance showing in his voice. Naruto chuckled slightly as the cat-like girl slowly started imitating her favorite food. But Uncle Akira, he can't come to Kumo with us. Yugito pleaded, hoping to gain some ground in her argument. Akira glared at the young 17-year-old's plea. "And there to all of those who have asked about the ages, you now know them." "Oh? And here I thought I was the rakeage Yugito-chan. Just because you don't want your new boyfriend to come with us doesn't mean you can." Akira raged, only to be cut off by a light chuckle. Turning towards the chuckle, everyone saw Naruto leaning against the windowsill, one leg propped up, with a scroll held between his palm and knee. "Wow, Akira-san, and here I thought you were a pretty laid-back guy. I mean, Yugito-san was just looking out for my best interest. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people in Kumo aren't too happy about the whole Hyuga incident, right Yugito-san?" Naruto said, giving Yugito a sly smile. Yugito, seeing that smile, thanked whatever gods were up there for this little excuse. "Yes, because we wouldn't want that little Tom over there to find out about what you think of him, and maybe causing him to fuck us silly. No, we wouldn't want that." Nibby purred in response to the girl's thoughts. Yugito hissed at the cat demon. "Shut up, I don't think of him like that." Yugito threw back angrily, causing Nibby to purr louder. "So you don't deny thinking of the boy? Good, then that means we are closer to getting that little Tom than I thought," Nibby said with a light laugh in her voice. Yugito hissed but didn't respond, causing Nibby to chuckle. Turning towards Akira, Yugito smiled. "Yeah, that's right, I am just worried about what the villagers would do," Yugito said with a little nervousness showing in her voice. "Afraid for the way they'll see him, or the way he'll see you after he meets the villagers, Yugito-chan?" Akira thought when he saw the nervousness showing on his niece's face. "Yes, well, as we saw from yesterday's fights, Naruto-san is quite capable of taking care of himself. He did beat you after all, Yugito-chan," Akira said with a slight chuckle in his voice. Yugito turned red with rage at that. "Bullshit. He only won because he got lucky. If we were to fight again, I would wipe the floor with that little twerp." Yugito raged at the thought of someone stronger than her. "Oh, I wouldn't say I was the one that got lucky, Yugito-san. After all, I didn't have to change my pants after the fight," Naruto said with a smirk. Naruto's response got 4 very different reactions out of the people in the room. "Naruto-kun, why must you always antagonize people?" Sarutobi thought while palming his face. "Ha ha ha, oh my god. I can't believe he just did that. Ha ha ha." Needless to say, Akira was about to bust a gut. "I'm going to kick his ass." Yeah, Yugito was pissed. "Oh, so the young Tom does know how to play the game. I wonder what he'll do next, or at least who." And Nibby was horny, go figure. "Got you." Naruto inwardly smirked as he saw the blonde-haired Kunoichi jumped at him. Yugito grabbed the front of Naruto's shirt and pulled him eye to eye with her. "You really want to get a beating, don't you, brat?" Yugito threatened, causing Naruto to smirk. "Well, it's not my thing, but if you're into it." Naruto jibed, drawing a blush from Yugito and a laugh from Akira. Yugito was about to shout back, but an evil thought found its way into her mind. "That's right, I may have to give you a beating. After all, you have been a very naughty little fox, haven't you, Foxy-kun?" Yugito said with a seductive little smirk adorning her lips. Naruto's eyes widened at her words. "Oh, so the pretty little kitten thinks she can be this little fox's mistress, does she? What makes you think you can hold in the mischievous mind of this little fox?" Naruto said in a husky voice, determined not to lose this little back and forth. Yugito gave a sultry smile and slowly straddled Naruto's waist. Yugito pressed her considerable chest into Naruto's solid one and slowly stroked the whisker marks on his right cheek. "Because Foxy-kun, I'm already ahead of you," Yugito replied, causing Naruto to raise an eyebrow. "Because Foxy-kun, I've already had you please me without me having to do anything at all," Yugito whispered seductively. Naruto smirked and wrapped his arms around her, pulling her closer to him. "So you were right. Now what are we going to do about that? I have to wander." Yugito slowly licked her lips at this reply. Yugito leaned forward until her lips were barely touching the shell of his ear and whispered. "Yes, Foxy-kun, what are we going to do about it? Tell your mistress? Do you want your mistress to pet her poor little Foxy-kun? Do you want?" The two teens' little display was interrupted by a loud yell. "Stop!" Sarutobi and Akira yelled in unison, causing the two teens to turn towards the two cages. Naruto smirked as he saw the faces of the strongest people in their respected villages. "I so would have won if they didn't interrupt, Yugito-san," Naruto said, looking at the Kunoichi. Yugito stared at Naruto incredulously. "No way, I had you eating out of the palm of my hand." Yugito shot back. Yes, but I'm pretty sure that by that time it wasn't your hand you wanted me to eat out of now, was it? Naruto said, showing one of his longer than normal canines. What is going on? Not 2 seconds ago you two were practically dry humping each other and now you're acting like it's a competition. I'm so confused. The two Jinchuriki turned towards the very confused Akira and laughed. Calm down uncle, we were just messing around and if you didn't interrupt I would have won. Yugito said with a bit of humor and agitation showing in her voice. Naruto snorted at that. Yeah, I don't see that happening, Yugito-san. Yeah, calm down Akira-san, it was all in good fun, besides we hardly know each other, it's not like we would actually do anything. We're practically strangers, Naruto said in a very to-the-point voice. Really Naruto-kun, so tell me, do you bring all the strangers to meet to an orgasm, or is there a requirement? Sarutobi said with a chuckle. Of course there are requirements, Oiji-san. I'm not a man whore. I only do that if they are exceptionally beautiful, Naruto said with a smirk. Sarutobi saw the look in Naruto's eyes and mentally sighed. Alright, I'll play along this time, Naruto-kun. Oh, so what would you call exceptionally beautiful, Naruto-kun? Sarutobi asked, hiding any emotion but curiosity causing Naruto to smile. Now you see, that's a pretty tough one considering I've only ever met one person who's met my criteria for exceptionally beautiful. Naruto said, prompting a response from Sarutobi. Oh, is she really that beautiful, Naruto-kun? Sarutobi inquired with a raised eyebrow. Naruto's features softened and a light smile found its way onto his lips. More than words can say, Oiji-san, more than words can say. Naruto replied and inwardly smirked as he saw the light blush adorning Yugito's cheeks. Man, I'm awesome, Naruto thought with a mental chuckle. Alright guys who can honestly say they have never said something extremely sappy or corny just to get a reaction out of a girl. Akira smiled softly at Naruto as he said that. Naruto-san, I could honestly say I really hope you see something in Yugito-chan. You both deserve some happiness in life. Sarutobi looked at the clock that adorned the wall and sighed. Well, Naruto-kun, are you already packed? Sarutobi said, giving Naruto a serious look. Naruto smiled and flipped the scroll in his hands. Of course, Oiji-san, Naruto responded, causing Sarutobi to smile. Good, now come here and give this old man a hug and then you should probably be off. Naruto smiled and hugged the elderly man. I'll miss you, Oiji-san. You'd better not kick the bucket before I get back or I'll bring you back to life just to kick your ass. Naruto said, tightening the hold he had on the man. Sarutobi smiled and gave the younger boy a quick squeeze and then releasing him. Naruto turned away from the old man and asked, so when do we leave? This caused Akira to smirk. Now, as Akira said these words, there were 2 puffs of smoke leaving the Sandaime in his office alone. Be careful out there, Naruto-kun, and come back stronger. _____ North Gate _____. As the 3 shinobi walked on the path leading to and from the village hidden in the leaf, Akira turned and gave a serious look to Naruto. Naruto-san, I need you to be completely honest with me. Is the Kyuubi going to be a problem? Akira said in a very serious tone. Naruto rolled his eyes at the questions. No, Akira-san, the Kyuubi is nothing but a tool to me anymore. He can't push chakra into me. He can't control me, and hell, he can hardly ever talk to me anymore, so no, he won't be a problem. Naruto said with a slight smirk. Yugito looked at the blonde-haired lightning god in amazement. How the hell did you do that? Nibi-chan is only the 2 tails and I have a hard time keeping her power in check? Yugito asked, curiosity and amazement showing in every word, causing Naruto to give a smile. It's simple, I outfoxed him, Naruto replied. Seeing the confused look on his traveling companions' faces, Naruto clarified. It all started with my first C-rank mission. ____ flashback ______. Naruto stared at his teammate as he fell to the cold cement, his body riddled with senbon. A cold and calculating voice sounded out through the mist as Naruto watched his teammate fall. Is this the first time you've seen the death of a person? It's a shame he had to die, but... The voice was cut off as a massive explosion of malevolent chakra. The owner of the voice turned towards the source to see Naruto covered in a dark red veil of venomous chakra. Shut up, you worthless shack of shit, Naruto said, his voice distorted by the violent chakra that racked his body. The owner of the unidentified voice gasped in shock as pain racked his body as the feral boy shot forward and through his mirrors. Naruto ran forward, his clawed hand out and ready to claw the heart out of the ice user's chest. Underscore 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 inside of Naruto's mindscape underscore underscore underscore. Yes boy, kill him, use my power, kill him and give in to my seal. The Kyuubi gave off a dark chuckle as he watched the blonde rush at the ice user. A slightly aggravated voice spoke, breaking the Kyuubi out of his humor. What the fuck do you think you're doing, you worthless piece of fox shit? Kyuubi turned towards the voice to see Naruto standing there, arms crossed with a scowl on his usually cheery face. Kyuubi smirked. Well, what brings my weakling of a container down here to my domain, I wonder? Kyuubi said condescendingly, causing Naruto to glare. Oh, I don't know, fox, you tell me, what would I be doing down here? Oh, I don't know. How about the fact that my body is running on instincts right now? I swear if I end up dry humping Sakura, I'll find a way to fucking kill you. Naruto snarled, causing the Kyuubi to smirk. Ah, what's the matter, Kitling? Mad that the big bad Kyuubi is in control now? Kyuubi said with a smirk. Naruto gave the Kyuubi a smirk. Yes, big bad Kyuubi can't even get out of a cage, fool. Naruto said, causing the Kyuubi to smash his head against the bars of his cage. You want to come over here and say that, Kitling? Kyuubi growled in rage. Naruto smirked and grabbed two of the cage bars. Raiden. Shindo Eri. Lightning release. Shock collar. Naruto yelled while pumping electricity into the bars. The Kyuubi screamed in pain as the electrically charged bars burned into the skin of his head. You damn brat, I'll fucking kill you. The Kyuubi bellowed, only to draw a laugh from Naruto. The Kyuubi watched as dark gray clouds started to cover the area and sharp winds whistled in his ears. You really don't get it, do you, you fool? This is my body, my chakra. From now on you will live in the storm you have created. This storm will only allow the bare minimum amount of your chakra to pass into my body. When this storm ends, you will die. So long, Kyuubi no Kitsune. With Naruto's last words, lightning flashed and the young boy disappeared. Underscore flashback end underscore. When I finally got control of my body back, I was stunned to see Haku jump in front of Kakashi's Reikiri to stop it from hitting Zabuza. Naruto's story was cut off. What, you met Momochi Zabuza and lived? How, when, where, what happened? Yugito yelled, sounding surprised. Sure, she was the top genin in Cloud, but still she had never even seen a missing nin, let alone fought one like Momochi Zabuza. Naruto smiled at the girl's excitement. Yeah, it was because of him I now have this sword. I met him while on a mission to Wave Country about 3 months ago. He was against us up until his employer betrayed him and kicked the newly killed Haku. Naruto said with a remorseful smile on his face. Akira raised an eyebrow on a certain bit of info. You say he was the reason you have that sword? Is that, you know? Akira said, indicating towards his sword, causing Naruto to laugh. No, Akira-san, this isn't the Kabikiri Hucho, head-chopping cleaver. No, this is my sword, the Myakukiri, pulseblade. The Kabikiri Hucho is now a grave marker for one of my first real friends and shall remain that way till long past all of us are dead. Naruto said with a real smile showing on his face. Akira grew confused. If that isn't the Kabikiri Hucho, then how did he give you that sword? Akira asked with curiosity. Naruto raised an eyebrow at that. Akira-san, I said it was because of him I have the sword, I never said he gave it to me. You see, it all started over the month of free time we were given to train for the Chunin exams. I talked Oiji-san into allowing me to go back to Wave to finally mourn for my fallen friends. And when I got to Zabuza and Haku's graves, flashback Naruto walked into the clearing that housed the bodies of his fallen friends only to stop and stare at the scene before him. There, kneeling before Zabuza's grave, was a stocky but elderly man. Naruto snuck quietly up behind the man and placed his hand on the back of the mont's neck. What are you doing here? And for your sake I better like the answer. Naruto said, his voice cold as ice. The older man smiled and didn't even flinch. It's funny, Zabuza said that same thing to me after he saw at his sensei's grave, only he wasn't stupid enough to try and break my neck. The older man responded with a chuckle. Naruto growled at the elderly man. You didn't answer me, old man. You haven't till I decide I've had enough to explain, or else you'll hope it was a broken neck I gave you. Naruto said, the threat heavy in his voice. The old man chuckled. Calm down my boy, I'm here merely trying to mourn a friend. Satisfied, Naruto, not sensing any dishonesty in the old man's words, released his neck and stepped up besides him. I'm sorry, I thought you were a mist hunter nin after Zabuza-san's head. Naruto said, running his hand down the side of Kabikuri. The old man smiled. Tell me boy, can you fight? The old man asked quietly and without moving an inch. Naruto raised his eyebrow at that. Yes, why do you ask? Naruto said, making the old man smile. That's good because while I'm not a Kiri nin, he is. At the old man's last word, mist started to roll into the clearing. Naruto didn't even move as the mist thickened. 8 points: heart, spine, lungs, kidneys, larynx, jugular vein, collar vein, and liver. Which do you want me to aim for? A creepy voice called out from the mist. Naruto closed his eyes at that and growled. You dare to use such a technique while trying to collect its master's head. You are nothing but a dirty bastard. Naruto raged, causing the voice to chuckle. You call the traitor a master? Hardly, he couldn't even bring himself to kill sensei, I had to do it for him, he always was a wimp. The voice said with laughter in his voice. Naruto's eyes snapped open. Naruto's sky blue eyes were now a dark blue with lightning running across the iris. Naruto glared into the mist. Raiden. Senmu, lightning release. Conductor. Naruto yelled, sending a pulse of electricity through the mist that formed around him. Naruto smiled when he heard 2 yells echo through the mist. Unless you want to get shocked, I suggest you get out of here, old man. It wouldn't do for me to have to kill you too. The only response Naruto got was a groan and the sound of shuffling feet. Naruto's smile faded as the sound of shuffling feet stopped. Good, now that he's out of the way I can finally start to get serious. Naruto thought and started to search the mist, hoping to find anything that gives his attacker away. That was a nice little trick, brat, but don't think I'm going to let you get off another one. The voice said, anger showing clearly in his voice. Naruto gave off a smirk. Zabuza wouldn't have let me get that one off. Naruto smirked as he felt the anger the hidden man was generating. Naruto crossed his hands and started to do one-handed hand seals with the one that was hidden. Damn, I can't find any trace of him. Man, I really hate this jutsu. Naruto thought with a mental grimace. Raiden. Maganechiku Denpatenchiki, lightning release. Magnetic radar, Naruto said and shivered when he felt the pull towards the now not so hidden target. Naruto's eyes widened as he felt the pull getting stronger. Naruto jumped to the side just in time to see a katana cut through where he once stood. Naruto smirked and dashed towards a tree on the far end of the clearing. Huh, you call yourself a master? You were using a katana and I still heard you. Zabuza-san was able to stay hidden with that huge-ass Zanbato of his. Naruto said in a condescending voice. The man in the mist growled at Naruto and gave chase. Naruto smirked when he felt the pull from the man grow closer. As Naruto reached the edge of the clearing, Naruto jumped and planted one foot on the surface of the tree. Shifting his hips, Naruto pushed off of the surface of the tree and lashed out with his foot. As the hidden mist shinobi came to the edge of the clearing, the last thing he expected was a foot to find its way into the side of his face and a shout of Mayaku Hira. Naruto smirked as he saw the man fly towards the other side of the clearing because of his technique. Naruto's eyes widened as a chuckle rang out through the mist. You're good boy, I'll admit that. However, you seem to have forgotten one thing. The voice chuckled evilly. Naruto's eyes widened. The old man, Naruto said, causing a sinister laugh to ring out through the mist. As Naruto felt the pull from the man getting further away, he cursed. Fuck, I've got to end this quick. No other choice. Damn, this is going to hurt. Naruto whispered and started hand seals. Everyone in Wave Country felt the storm approach as Naruto finished his technique. The power coming off of Naruto cleared the mist, giving the old man and enemy shinobi a clear view of what was happening. Lightning. He who protects the rain when called but scorned for his efforts. Such power, such speed, only leaving the sound of the splitting wind in his wake. Do you understand the point I'm trying to make here? Naruto asked as lightning wrapped around his hand like a snake. The now visible shinobi growled. What the hell are you talking about? The mist hunter nin growled out, causing Naruto to smirk. Naruto gave off a slight laugh and charged. That man over there is the rain. He who has done nothing to you yet you try to involve him in our fight. You are the wind. You do nothing, push the rain to show your power. And me? I'm the lightning. I'll protect the rain when I am called to do so, even if I'm scorned for this power and speed I hold, and when I'm done." At this, Naruto disappeared. The enemy shinobi's eyes widened when Naruto reappeared in front of him. "I'll leave nothing but the sound of the splitting wind in my wake. Raiden. Satsu za K's, lightning release, split the wind." At those last words, Naruto palmed the older man's chest. The elderly man watched as the lightning that was once wrapped around the young boy's arm shot through the mist ninja's chest and heard a loud crack of thunder as the mist shinobi screamed. The elderly man watched as the blonde-haired lightning god limped towards him, smoke coming off of the arm used for the technique. The sleeve of the boy's jacket burned off by the heat of the lightning. Giving the boy an appraising look, the elderly man turned his back to him and walked into the forest. "Boy, follow me," the elderly man said without even looking at him. Naruto shrugged and followed the older man, although he kept his distance just in case. After about 30 minutes of traveling, the two came into a clearing with a small little house in the center. The older man turned towards Naruto and smiled. "There is a bed upstairs, why don't you crash there for the night?" Naruto nodded and complied with his commands. The following morning, Naruto was awoken by the sound of something large hitting the floor next to him. Jumping out of the bed and into an attack position, Naruto was surprised to see the old man smirking and leaning against a large black and gold piece of metal. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the man. "What's with the Zanbato, old man?" Naruto asked, causing the older man to smile. "This, my boy, is my present to you for saving me yesterday," the elderly man said with a large smile. Naruto smiled at the man. "I'm flattered really, but I couldn't take something like this from you. It must have cost a fortune for you to have it made." As Naruto said this, the man snorted. "Boy, you really have no idea who you saved back there, do you?" the older man said, making Naruto raise an eyebrow. No, I just knew you didn't do anything that I saw, so you didn't deserve to be dragged into a fight." As Naruto said this, the old man smiled. "Boy, my name is Muramasa Sengo, the man who smithed the swords for the 7 swordsmen of the mist and the only wielder of the Oboro Muramasa, Hazy Muramasa, the demon blade." At the old man's words, Naruto's eyes widened and stared at the black and gold piece of metal that was now stabbed into the earth beside Sengo. Naruto shook himself out of his stupor and straightened himself. "All right, old man, I'll accept your gift and thank you, but I do have one question." This statement caused the older man to raise an eyebrow. "Continue, boy," Sengo said with curiosity in his voice. "Well, I know you've been doing this for a long time, but why a Zanbato? I mean, wouldn't a smaller sword be better?" The question made Sengo chuckle. "Not quite, boy. You see, contrary to what you thought, I could have killed that little shit that attacked us in an instant. However, I felt it better if I saw what the boy who thinks so highly of Zabuza could do. When you first showed up, I expected a stupid fool who looked up to Zabuza because of his strength. However, I was surprised to see a powerful young man. After your speech about the rain, I realized why you thought so highly of Zabuza. You and he are a lot alike. You are both lithely built, the control you have over your jutsu is unparalleled, your styles are unpredictable. But most glaring commonality is both of you have the same weakness." Sengo's words made Naruto raise an eyebrow. "Oh, and what is the weakness?" Naruto asked, curiosity showing heavily in his voice, making Sengo smile slightly. "Good, you're not enough to believe yourself invincible. But to answer your question, your most glaring weakness is your greatest strength. The weakness you both possess is the speed at which you move." These words made Naruto's eyes widened. "Did you just call me slow?" Naruto yelled in outrage, causing Sengo to burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha, no, not at all, my boy. Quite the opposite, in fact, but you see, because you move so fast you leave yourself open to attack once you make contact with your opponent because of the rapid deceleration you are forced to go through." Naruto nodded and hummed at Sengo's words. "Yes, I can see where that is true. However, how does this affect why a smaller sword wouldn't be better for me? I mean, if you are trying to slow me down, then weights are a cheaper option," Naruto asked. Sengo shook his head. "No, my boy, you see, if you were to have a small sword like a wakizashi or a katana, then your natural form would be messed up, and middle-sized swords like a falchion or a broadsword are worse and will make your form suicidal," Sengo said, making Naruto raise an eyebrow. "What makes you say that?" Naruto asked, true confusion showing in his voice. "Wakizashi and katana are not about strength or speed, they are all about the right technique, And because the way you fight the stiff forms that come with working with the katana and the wakizashi would throw off the natural flow your body moves with. Middle swords like falchions and broadswords would knock off your balance so much that an academy student could take you out. No, what you needed was a weapon that would take the power from the momentum you gain. You needed a weapon that when it hits it stays. The Zanbato, despite its size and weight, is actually a very versatile weapon because it doesn't require you to learn stiff stances. It doesn't require you to spend years trying to master a certain style. With the Zanbato all you have to know is how to swing and stop it and you can work from there. Naruto smiled at that little bit of knowledge. I see. Old man, I may not know a lot about the 7 shinobi swordsmen, but I know that each of their swords had a name as well as some type of special powers. Is it the same with this one? Naruto asked, causing Sengo to smirk. Yes, this little beauty behind me is called the Mayakakiri and it has the ability to end flashback ____. And well, I see no reason to tell you its powers yet, so I'll end my story there. Naruto said, making Yugito growl. God damn it, why not? The 7 shinobi swordsmen always showed the power of their blades. So why won't you? After Yugito asked this, she couldn't help but shudder as a pair of piercing blue eyes turned towards her. You're right, Yugito-san, the 7 shinobi swordsmen, A and S rank shinobi, did always show off the power of their blades, and you see what happened to them. Now then, take the power of my blade and add in the fact that I'm the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi as well as the fact that I resemble the Yondaime. Now tell me, Yugito-san, why would I, a genin maybe Chunin level shinobi, keep quiet about the powers of my sword? Naruto said with an animalistic growl resonating out of his throat as he did so. Yugito shivered in slight fear at this. Why am I scared of this boy? Yugito thought, drawing a loud purr from the nibby. Could it be that subconsciously you are accepting this delicious little Tom as your superior? Nibby asked in the usual seductive drawl she always carries. What? Never. Why would you even say that? Yugito thought incredulously. Oh, I don't know. Maybe subconsciously you know that this boy is stronger than you, and whether you want to admit it or not you feel attracted to the boy. Nibby said, a light purr entering her voice. Yugito hissed at the two-tailed cat demon. That is bullshit. If it weren't for his stupid Kisu no Ryu attack I would have destroyed him. Yugito said, making Nibby hiss in anger. Stop being foolish, kitten. Did you not see what he did to that stupid Tanuki? Do you really think he wouldn't destroy you even with my powers? Nibby hissed out, causing Yugito to mentally glare at the cat demon. That kid was stupid and didn't think. If we were to fight again I would wipe the floor with him. Yugito thought and marched right up to Naruto and grabbed him by the shoulder. Turning towards Yugito, Naruto was surprised to see 2 black eyes glaring at him. Yes, Yugito-san, can I help? Naruto asked, causing the glare to intensify. When we get back to Cloud, you and I are going to fight again. Yugito said, anger showing clearly in her voice. This statement took Naruto aback. Yugito-san, why would I fight you? Naruto asked while rubbing the back of his head in his usual nervous habit, causing Yugito to hiss. Because I'm tired of people saying that you're stronger than me. I'll show them I'm the strongest. You just got lucky. Yugito yelled at him, drawing a concerned eye from Akira. As Akira approached, Naruto glared, telling him to back off. As Akira stopped, Naruto smiled softly and laid a gentle hand on the blonde girl's shoulder. Tell me, Yugito-san, why is being the strongest so important to you? What do you care to prove by beating me? Naruto asked in a soft voice. Yugito turned her eyes towards the ground and glared. I can't be weak. They'll tear me apart. I have to be the best. I can't lose. Yugito whispered more to herself than to Naruto. As Naruto heard this, he glared in anger. How could they do this to someone like her? The fox was different. The Lord of Hell may have had a chance at fighting the Shinigami, but did they really think that the Nibby was even dumb enough to fight her old master? No, of course they didn't think. If they did, then Yugito-san would have been treated as a queen, no more. Naruto thought and drew the blonde-haired Jinchuriki into a hug. As Naruto pulled the blonde-haired girl's head into his shoulder, Yugito's eyes widened. Naruto leaned down and softly whispered in her ear. Yugito-san, never again will you feel that pain. Raiden. Arikiteru no Ikiyoi. Gun Namori, lightning release. Electricity of life, forced sleep. Naruto caught the blonde-haired girl as his technique took effect. As Naruto stared down at the blonde-haired bombshell, a tight glare found its way onto his face. Akira, I'm telling you this now. If anyone in your village steps out of line when Yugito-san is involved, I'll rip your village asunder. Do I make myself clear? Naruto said, anger and hatred showing clearly in his voice. Akira raised an eyebrow at this. Do you honestly think you by yourself could take on an entire village? Kid, you're good, but you're not that good, Akira said with a quick roll of his eyes. Naruto glared at the Raikage. You're right, I may not be, but between Kyuubi and Tentei I'm pretty sure I could wipe all of Lightning Country off the map. So don't push me, Akira, Naruto said, lightning shooting between his eyes. Akira raised an eyebrow. You would risk a war between Leaf and Cloud all because of Yugito-chan? Akira asked in surprise. I could care less about that worthless village, there are only one or two there that I care about, and if your village was as bad to Yugito-san as mine was to me, then there won't be a Cloud village left to go to war with. I care about what is mine and that is it, Naruto said, and turned away from Akira and continued to down the path towards the north. As Akira watched, the young lightning god carried his niece towards Lightning Country and smiled. Naruto-san, I think you'll be perfect for my niece, Akira thought, and ran towards the boy. As Naruto felt a weight land on his shoulder, he turned his head towards it only to see the smiling face of Akira. Naruto-san, don't worry about it. If I see something like that happen, I'll destroy the bastard myself. Although I am curious, you said you care about what is yours. Are claiming that Yugito-chan belongs to you? Akira said very seriously. Naruto smirked. Not quite the way you're thinking, you old pervert. You see, whether I like to admit it or not, I am a Jinchuriki, and like all Jinchuriki I do obtain some things from my prisoner. Yugito-san, I'm going to assume, got her slightly squinted eyes and her natural ability to flirt from the Nekomata. I however got my whisker marks and a very strong skulk mentality, and due to that I subconsciously build my skulk with me being alpha male, and right now Yugito-san is taking the place of alpha female. Sarutobi Ojji is taking the place of an elder. Gaara and Konohamaru are taking the place of over rambunctious little kitlings that keeps trying to play with Theer Alpha. You are an outsider trying to gain favor so you can enter my skulk, do you see what I mean? So I guess in a way you could say I'm claiming her as mine, but not quite in the way you are thinking. Akira smiled at the young boy's response. Thank you for explaining that to me, Naruto-san, and I will get to you, trust me, but that is for another time. Right now I'm more curious about who this Tentei is. Akira asked, causing Naruto to smirk. If you'll take Yugito-san and hold on very tightly to something, I'll show you, Naruto said with an evil smile showing on his face. Akira took Yugito from Naruto and walked towards the edge of the path and stuck to the ground with chakra. Naruto smirked and bit his finger. Hold on tight, Akira-san, Naruto said, and started the hand signs. Naruto slammed his hand into the ground, causing a seal array to appear under his hand. Akira's eyes widened as Naruto yelled, Kaichios! Tentei! Summoning! Heavenly King! Gale force winds swept through the forest, and in the sky the clouds swirled around each other. The sky darkened and lightning jumped from cloud to cloud. Through the eye of the storm shot a magnificent being. An enormous solid white eagle circled the skies above once before landing in the forest behind the blonde-haired Jinchuriki. Naruto smirked. This Akira-san is Tentei, the Heavenly King. This eagle has the skill to fight the Kyuubi, the King of Hell, to a standstill for 3 days before he runs out of chakra. Something the entire Leaf Village couldn't do, Naruto said, drawing a light chuckle from the magnificent creature. While I'm flattered you think so highly of me, Naruto-kun, I surely hope you didn't call me out here just to brag, Tentei said, making Naruto smile at the 4-story tall bird. No way, Tentei-san, I actually called you out here for several reasons. One is the fact that the Raikage asked who you were when I told him between you and the Kyuubi I'm pretty sure the Cloud Village would be wiped off the map, Naruto said. This little bit of info made the bird raise an eyebrow. Do I even want to know how this conversation started? Tentei asked. Naruto's smile dropped, making the giant bird's eyes widened. Thus we come to the second reason I called you out here, Tentei-san. You see, I'm heading to Kumo and they have a Jinchuriki, Naruto said, confusing the giant bird. Enma never hears and died. How did it happen? Tentei asked, making Naruto roll his eyes. He didn't die, but he lost a bet, and Naruto said, making the giant bird roll his eyes. Meaning the other guy got played. Naruto nodded at the bird's words. Pretty much, but anyway, the reason I called you out here is because you see Cloud has a Jinchuriki, and something she said made me think that the villagers treat her like leaves did me. So I was wondering. As Naruto grew quiet towards the end, Tente picked up on what he wanted. You want me to fly you there, give a small show of power. Just enough to scare the fools, while you show some of your power scaring them a hell of a lot more. Then you show a soft side towards this Jinchuriki, making them know what awaits them should they mess with her. Did I get it right, Naruto-kun? Naruto smiled at the giant bird. You can read me like a book, Tente-san, Naruto said, making the bird roll his eyes. With your vocabulary, Naruto-san, it like reading a picture book, the bird said, gaining the finger from the young boy. Naruto walked up to Akira and took Yugito from his grasp. You're going to have enough trouble landing as it is. You don't need to be carrying someone while trying the first time, Naruto said, drawing a raised eyebrow from the older man. What are you talking about? Akira asked, making Naruto smirk. Follow me, Naruto said, and then shot forward. Akira quickly followed as the boy ran directly up a tree and leapt into the air. Once Akira was level with the boy in the air, he felt his feet being taken out from under him. After he rolled a couple of times, Akira finally righted himself. Looking forward, Akira saw that he and Naruto were on top of something solid white. Naruto cocked his head back towards the older man and smirked. See why I didn't want you carrying Yugito-san? Naruto said with a light laughter in his voice. Akira glared at the younger man. You know, you could have warned me he would do that, Akira yelled while making his way up towards Naruto. Could have, but where would the fun be in that? Naruto replied, drawing an eye roll from the wreckage. As Akira watched Naruto sit cross-legged on top of the giant bird's head, Yugito lying across his lap as he idly stroked what hair she didn't have wrapped up, he couldn't help but smile. Naruto-san, I have another question, Akira said, drawing a groan from the younger boy. Man, what is it with you cages and questions? First the old man and now you. Fine, shoot, Naruto said, making Akira chuckle. Well, it's the jutsu you used to put Yugito-san to sleep. I thought you said you only had 5 Arikiteru no Ikioi jutsu? Naruto chuckled at the older man's question. At the time I did only have 5. However, after I saw Gaara use his genjutsu to emulate sleep, I created the gun Namori when I realized how useful it could be. I really don't need to tell you what it does, as you can plainly see, and how it works will remain a secret until I say otherwise, Naruto said, drawing a groan from the older man. What are the odds of me actually being able to convince you to teach me any of your techniques? Akira asked, making Naruto chuckle. What are the odds of Yugito-san being happy about me knocking her out back there? Naruto asked, making Akira sighed. None, damn, Akira said and let his head drop. Naruto chuckled at the older man's expense. The usual 2-week trip was made in 3 hours with Tente's help. Those 3 hours were spent in mostly silent, with Akira lying on his back staring at the sky above the clouds, while Naruto sat with Yugito in his lap running his fingers through her visible hair. Naruto-kun, we are about 20 minutes out. I would wake the young Jinchuriki and take your beating now if you are going to do as you plan. We need her awake. The voice of the giant bird broke everyone out of their silence. Naruto nodded to the bird and placed his hands on the blonde girl's temples. Kai, cancel, Naruto whispered and outwardly smiled too as he saw the girl wake up. Inwardly, however, he was sweating. I'm so screwed. Naruto's thoughts were confirmed when he saw the glare Yugito had on her face. You bastard, what the hell do you think you're doing? I ought to rip your balls off, shove them up your ass and pull them out through your throat. Akira winced at that and thought, is that even possible? Oh, pay attention, he's responding. Calm down, Yugito-san, you have to understand that there was a reason I did what I did, Naruto said, making Yugito glare at him. You have 10 seconds, Uzumaki. Yugito growled, making Naruto smile. I only need 5. You see, the reason I did it was because Akira-san asked me to, and me not wanting a war to start because I disobeyed a cage. I did as I was asked. As Naruto finished his statement, he smiled as Yugito jumped from his lap and tackled her uncle. Naruto turned back around, not wanting to see what was going to happen, but Akira's screams still reached his ears. Yugito-chan, what are you doing with those kunai? Ah, are those my chopsticks? We didn't pack any cheese. Where did you even find a mouse up here? Ah. At Akira's high-pitched squeal, Naruto laughed. Naruto turned his head towards the blonde-haired bombshell as she sat down beside him. I'm impressed you got it right on your first try, but please next time you do that, Naruto said, only to be cut off by Yugito. I know, not while you're around, right? Naruto chuckled at the girl's question. No, I could care less if I'm around, but next time use your own damn mouse. Yugito blushed and handed a small white mouse to Naruto, who slipped it into his pocket. Naruto-kun, get ready, we're about to reach Kumo. Naruto smiled evilly at the Heavenly King's words. Showtime. Kumo___________. All inhabitants of the hidden cloud village gathered at the gate and watched as the giant eagle approached their village. All the ninja gathered around waiting for it to get within range. Everyone tensed as it got within range, only to be blown back as the bird came to a sudden stop, sending all its energy forward with wind. The ninja jumped back to their feet and were about to attack when lightning struck the ground in front of the magnificent bird. If you touch that bird, your death is assured. Do I make myself clear? The Raikage's voice resonated out of the lightning like lightning. All eyes turned towards the group as the lightning cleared. Naruto cocked his head up towards the bird. You can leave now if you wish, Tente-san. I'll call you if I need you again. The bird nodded and everyone watched as lightning seemed to strike the magnificent eagle. When the light died down, the eagle was gone. Welcome back, Raikage-sama, I see you brought the young Uzumaki. An old voice sounded from the crowd. Naruto turned towards the voice to see the crowd splitting for an elderly man. Yes, I did, Gomu, what of it? Akira asked, making the elderly man, now named Gomu, smile. Well, I just feel that it would be imperative for the young Uzumaki to have an escort around town. So I have several names. The elderly man's rant was cut off by a quick snort. No, I'm good, I already have someone to show me around. Right, Yugito-san? Naruto said, making Yugito shrug her shoulders in a, sure why not, motion. The elder slightly glared at the younger boy. Now Naruto-kun, I'm sure we can work something out. I mean, I have some very good ninja and very pretty konoichi lined up for you. The old man said with a light smile on his face. Naruto glared at the elderly man. First things first, you ever call me Naruto-kun again, I'll kill you. We aren't friends and I personally don't want to be. 2. I don't care if you have the lightning daimyo's daughter lined up to escort me around. I said I would rather have Yugito-san, so drop it. Naruto said in final tone. Gumo, however, wasn't about to end. Surely now, Uzumaki, you would rather have a decent kunoichi instead of the demon whore. At those words all motion stopped. As the Kumo Anbu were about to attack, the Raikage held up his hand in a stop motion. Show them, Naruto-kun. Show them what happens when you mess with your pretty little kitten. Nibi purred in Yugito's head. All of the civilians and low-level shinobi were blown away at the power that came off of Naruto at that moment. The Raikage smiled as he saw the snake-like lightning that wrapped around the young lightning god's arm. Lightning. He who protects the rain when called but scorned for his efforts. Such power, such speed, only leaving the sound of the splitting wind in his wake. Do you understand the point I'm trying to make here? Naruto said and stared at his lightning-covered hand. Gumo stood there speechless, making Akira chuckle. Answer him, Gumo, Akira said with humor showing in his voice. Gumo shuddered at the power felt but responded. No, I don't see your point. Naruto smirked at the fear that showed in the elderly man's voice. That beautiful blonde over there is the rain. She who has done nothing to you, yet you continue to scorn and hate her, going so far as to call her a whore. You are the wind. You do nothing but push the rain to show your power, knowing it won't push back. And me? I'm the lightning. I'll protect the rain when I am called to do so, even if I'm scorned for this power and speed I hold, and when I'm done. Naruto said and disappeared from his spot, making all those watching go wide-eyed. Naruto reappeared in front of the elderly man, his palm on the older man's chest. I'll leave nothing but the sound of the splitting wind in my wake. Raiden. Satsu za K's, lightning release, split the wind. At those last words, Naruto palmed the older man's chest. Everyone present watched as the lightning that was once wrapped around the young boy's arm shot through the elderly man's chest and heard a loud crack of thunder as the man screamed in pain. Akira watched as Naruto turned his back on the still standing body of the elderly man. If I hear any one of you say something like that again, what happened to him will be the least of your worries. Do I make myself clear? Naruto asked, only to receive silence. Naruto lashed out backwards with his foot, knocking the dead body of the elderly man into the crowd of civilians. I asked a question. Do I make myself clear? After getting a resounding, "Hi," Naruto smirked and walked towards Yugito. Wrapping his arm around the girl, Naruto smiled softly. "Come on, Yugito-san, I want to see the place you call home." With that, Naruto walked forward, his arms still wrapped around Yugito's shoulders. Akira smiled as he saw the crowd slip like Kami himself was in their presence. "I like this one, little brother. Where did you find him?" a voice said from the shadows behind Akira. Surprisingly, he found us Kurabi. The black-skinned Jinchuriki chuckled and stepped out of the shadows. "Life's not going to be the same around here with him, is it?" Akira smiled at Kurabi's words and couldn't help but chuckle when he heard a loud yell of, "Yugito-san, use your own mouse." Kurabi's sweat dropped at that. I did not expect that response.